Hello, my creepy crawlies, and welcome back to another episode of Ice Cream Queens, your favorite stop for a little dark pop culture. And if I'm going to take a minute and bring in our co hostess, first of all, I have Lauren.
Hello.
Oh, you look creepy. I have mine too. Hang on. It's not.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going to let you take over for a minute because Kat's having some technical difficulties. So
I was
bear
just
with me.
about to attempt to try and get her logged on as well. Hello. Hi. Welcome to Ice Cream Queens. We are your one-stop shop for everything creepy, goth culture, true crime, and all that jazz. We have some wonderful guests, but first I think we wanted to fix some technical difficulties, but did we have a before show topic we wanted to just kind of
We do, yes.
Okay.
Have you had a chance to see the new upcoming release of Renfield? And they have cast Dracula, and I think that's getting a lot of attention.
Okay, I saw a picture of an actor I would have never thought of as Dracula, dressed as Dracula, but I don't know if this is the same movie because I don't know what film that they were working on. Who is Dracula?
Nicolas Cage.
Yep, okay, exactly what I was thinking. Everyone's kind of probably a little baffled at that casting, and I'm just over here like, yes. If you've seen Nicolas Cage do horror movies, was he the one in pretty much what that Chuck E. Cheese one?
Oh, there he is. By the way,
there he is. Yes, and I love it. I am
think it
down with
works.
this. Yes.
Was it Chuck E. Cheese, Five Nights at Freddy's?
Yeah, like who was in that movie? Was it? Okay, hang on.
I should know this because yes, it's like
y'all recommended me to watch it, and then me and my husband watched it, and it was absolutely insane. Hang on one second. Hey Google, Chuck E. Cheese style horror movie. Let's see what Google has to say about that.
Willy's Wonderland. Thank you, Lobo. I knew he would know.
Who was the lead in that?
The only one I know right off is Nicolas Cage. And my understanding is he did not speak throughout the entire movie.
Nope, not once. And it was wonderful. So to derail that conversation real quick. All right. I don't really know what else to talk about. We've recently talked about the Anne Rice thing coming up with the casting of Claudia, still kind of waiting on why that was cast that way. We've talked about Batman and how that's pretty much its own horror movie, which I have not seen yet, and I really want to see the new Batman film. I just feel like I'm a one-woman show here. Now suddenly I'm from Brooklyn. Nicolas Cage. Thank you. Not one word. Yes.
Actually, I wanted to take a moment. Last week we did, or our last show, not last week, our previous show, we did an episode on goth and goth styling. And one of the things that kind of came into play was, or into question, I was inquiring if anybody had ever had any type of negative experience dressed in their goth attire out in public. And one of the things that comes to mind whenever I think of this is the case of Sophie Lancaster. And if you're not familiar with Sophie, she, I think it was in 2007, her and her boyfriend were coming home, walking through a park. They were British based, and they were both attacked, and she was stomped to death. It's
my goodness.
Yeah, the scene, the crime scene photos and the images of her in the hospital are absolutely just awful to see. And it was a group of kids that attacked her. I think the youngest being at 15 at the time. I know. And the two that I know were incarcerated. One of them is named Ryan Herbert. He is believed to be the person who kind of initiated the attack. Some little information on that. So they are saying that she suffered brain damage because the way that her head was kicked, instead of like being kicked and jarring, basically somebody was on both sides of her head and they were kicking in. So imagine you got a football and both people are kicking in at the same
At the
time.
same time.
So, yes.
Oh my gosh.
So Ryan Herbert, after 15 years, has now been released. And I think it's just a sad, sad situation because, I mean, that is, it is one of those situations where her family will have to live with that. As a matter of fact, her mother, following this, started a foundation called the Sophie Lancaster Foundation. And upon his release, she actually made she made a statement, and I'm looking that up. Bear with me; I had it in front of me.
Okay, well, while you're looking that up, was she targeted because of like the gothic look? Is okay.
Yes, hers is considered a hate crime. And she was targeted 100% because of the way that she looked. They were describing the rest of the community as being a bit more on the preppy jock side, if that's a good way to describe it. Said that like one of the girls in the group that was attacking her actually placed the 911 call, knowing that if she was caught, that she would probably get similar treatment. And you could hear her being kicked in the background. I think I may have just heard Kat.
Oh my gosh.
Hey,
hello.
Kat. Hey, Kat.
Finally.
So one of the things that so her mother came out and made a statement upon the release of this young man. And, obviously I'm very disappointed at the result of my parole hearing, but the one that just really just hurt my heart so much, her attackers may not have been given a life sentence, but I have. And that's really, if you think about it, you now have a mother who has lost a child, and she has to live with that the rest of her life. And I kind of understand that the perpetrators have not shown any remorse. So it's sad and it's brutal. And gosh,
that makes me want to go all vigilante, but
it does. It does. Hey, Kat. Hey,
Hi.
How are you? Do you recover from yesterday?
I did. Y'all look well recovered, or on your way to recovery, I should say.
I've got all the wet hair. We're recovering. We're
recovering.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a moment and bring in our guests before I ask you about your con experience, because they are con folk too. So
so they were there. Okay.
No,
they were not there, but I think this will be kind of a funny conversation. So my first guest is Taylor Hopkins.
Hey guys.
Hey Taylor.
Hello.
Oh, I want to wear my hood now. Okay.
Right? I don't know how long it's gonna last. The ears are kind of driving me a little crazy, but he's so cute. Like, who doesn't love a little finnick fox?
Oh, it's adorable. Okay,
I want a panda. I want a panda onesie. Be a trash panda or like a raccoon. I'd be happy.
So Taylor, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be here this evening.
That is a great question. And I was listening to you guys and I was racking my brain of what to say. I started off in the academic world, which I'm still very much a part of, but I got very interested in the paranormal through some experiences we'll talk about a little bit later. And I also worked for one of the haunted tour companies here and had lots of experiences there. And that really kind of just drove me to experience and find out more, to the point now where I work and have worked in two of the most haunted mansions here in Memphis. And I also love cons, and I'm nerdy, and I'm just well-rounded in the weird things of society.
Nice. We've got weird covered here. So yes. you're a good company. You're a good company. So our second guest this evening is Kevin L. Williams.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Good. How are you, Kevin?
Hey, I'm doing good. It's a little chilly tonight, but
Yeah,
it's Memphis. It'll be warm in about an hour.
One thing I always say: if you don't like Memphis weather, give it a second.
Yes.
Yeah. I always the Katy Perry song. I always thought of Memphis as that, but just on repeat. It's hot and you're cold. You're hot, then you're cold. You're hot, then you're cold. You're hot, then you're...
So, Kevin, why don't you take a minute and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a cartooning puppeteer who investigates the paranormal. I've worked with a paranormal investigation team here in Memphis for several years now, and I don't know what else to tell you about that, except for that we have investigated both properties and businesses and residences and lots of experiences. I think that you want to talk about that tonight.
Definitely. Okay, back up. Cartoony puppeteer.
Yes.
You
Yes,
can't just drop a bomb like that and leave it hanging.
Nope.
I'm a cartoonist. I have comic strips. I am a editor for a nationwide, nationally, internationally published comic book series, Shinobi Ninja Princess. Muley the Mule is my character, who's in comic strips and is a puppet. He's on the internet, of course, and leads a reading program once a month called Muley Reads, where our tagline for that is "Reading is fundamental." The books bring the fun. Muley brings the mental. And we just have a good time with that, reading the different little picture book stories for everybody to get involved with there. And then, what's the third part there? The paranormal. So yeah, I've been investigating the paranormal since I was a little kid. I've chased down every story that I could, researching every book and all of that.
Nice.
Wonderful. This is going to be an interesting show. I can tell already. It's
I
when
hope
you
so.
have. All right. So, in case you have noticed, there are a couple of different ways that you can interact with us. First of all, like the comment that just popped up from our friend El Santo Lobo, who was on a Ladies in Horror panel this past weekend. He says, "Getting a host vibe, guys. Don't do a Zoom seance." Ooh.
But that could be fun.
I don't know. Can we?
That would be a fun episode. Like, can we do a whole episode of a seance?
Absolutely, we can.
As long as I'm
We can
coming to
make
one of
this
your guys'
happen.
houses, I don't want that in my house.
No, no, no. No. Who
It would be
volunteers?
par for the course at my house.
Oh,
He volunteered.
all
He
right. We're going to
volunteered
your
as
house.
tribute.
Kevin's house it is.
Party at Kevin's. Got
Come on
it.
down.
So obviously
BYOB.
you can interact with us by asking questions. We will try to get to as many of those as possible. Another thing is we do have a audience participation slide. So we ask for people to kind of chime in their thoughts on a singular question we present. And tonight's question is, drum roll.
I don't know what that actually sounds like with me doing that. Tonight's question is missing. It's magic.
Okay, so tonight's question, the slide will eventually show up. Has anything ever happened to you in your home you cannot rationally explain? In your own home. And we're going to start with Taylor. Guests get to go first.
Aha!
Okay, take it down because there's a typo. Explain.
An explain.
Explain.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, we just, I'm
There
not
we,
sure what I just saw there on that screen, but
that was Sophie Lancaster. We'll talk. We'll catch you up.
Okay.
So Taylor, why don't you go first? So obviously you've had some sort of at-home experience.
Yes, mostly not at home. So I'm very fortunate in that way. I'll leave the more crazy at-home things to Kevin. But the craziest thing was an apartment that I was living in downtown. It was associated, Memphis history-wise, if you know where Elvis grew up over on Lauderdale Courts. So I was living in a historic building that when they renovated, they just built a room in the existing room. So they didn't really clean out and get rid of things. But anytime I was in that apartment, which was for about 3, almost 4 years, I would constantly find my toothpaste not where I left it. And I've been living alone. Me and my cat Crow, who will occasionally make appearances because he loves my lap. And obviously my cat isn't moving my toothpaste clear across my vanity or anything. If it was on the floor, maybe. But anytime my toothpaste in the bathroom, which hadn't always been a bathroom, would just be moved in different places. So that's probably one of the weirdest things that I could just not rationally explain. He would also, my cat is a little bit more sensitive, as animals tend to be. And in that same apartment, he would obviously be seeing something very clear on our stairway that went up to the loft area. And he would almost be tormented trying to chase whatever he was seeing that also led up to said bathroom. And he would start doing weird little laps in the bathroom and then back down the stairs. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
I have a question, just because I had a cat for a whole 6 months. We were babysitting. It was supposed to be a week. We ended up with him for 6 months. we are more dog people in our house. Not that I don't love cats, but my youngest child is highly, highly allergic. But do you find that cats, I'm asking the professionals, do you find that cats have a tendency to be a bit more sensitive than other animals?
I would say yes. In the various animals I've owned over my years, which I know is not many, but still, I would say, especially Crow, the cat I currently have, has been a lot more in tune to things in the places I've been living or places I've traveled with him. Because for a hot minute, he would go with me to anywhere and everywhere. So he would always be a little bit more in tune than, say, a dog or anything that I've been traveling with. Not that dogs cannot be sensitive, but I find cats to be a little bit more in tune, or at least they let you know they're seeing something.
And I've got a dog and 2 cats, and I'll tell you that with the things that was happening here at my house, the cats were more or less but you would see them every once in a while just kind of staring, doing that stargaze, I think is what they call it in some arenas. My dog, on the other hand, was completely affected by things that happened here, and to this day wanders by a door in the house, looking up and shying to the other side of the hall away from that door. Won't go near it. Hates it.
Wow.
Huh.
BYOG. Bring your own ghost. Someone just come
Yes.
to bring your own ghost. Oh, that's my mom. My mom just come to bring your own ghost. That's
I do
great.
not have glasses, so somebody has better vision is going to have to read the longer ones.
This is from Tabitha. I've seen 2 full-bodied apparitions. I call it the doppelganger, as each time it looked like my parents each time. Parents were alive at the time. Ooh, that's creepy.
Ooh.
Both times were in the witching hour at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Or I'm guessing that, 3 a.m.
That's always interesting because I know a lot of people want to assume that witching hour is midnight, but 3 a.m. Nothing good happens between 3 and 4 a.m. Never, ever, in my opinion, just never. So, Kevin, you mentioned that you have had some activity in your house. Would you care to share what has happened in your world?
Sure. I moved here in 2007, and it wasn't very long after that things started to materialize. And it was interesting that within the first 3 or 4 weeks, I'm asleep and I wake up because right beside my head, I hear a male voice say, "Hey," just like that. And so, of course, I stand up in the bed, kicking, scratching, clawing, gnawing, biting, anything I could do to fight off whoever was there, and there was nobody. As time progressed, I began to hear little pop sounds coming from the hallway. Fast forward a couple of years, a couple of friends of mine, one is an investigator who watched my animals. Another one is a friend who is slightly sensitive. Both investigated my house while they were watching all of my animals. And the third is sensitive, but all of the activity hid pretty well while she was here. But come to find out, the pop were materialization of an apparition in the hall of the house. I don't consider myself sensitive, but you know how you can pick up certain energies, that little static in the air,
Yes.
I guess.
The
And,
goose pimples.
yes. And from any of the rooms in the house, while I would sit where I could see the hall, something just kind of burned. You know that burn sensation you get when somebody's just staring at you?
Yes.
I would get that, and then I would look into the direction of the hallway and watch, not knowing that I was actually being watched while I'm looking at someone that I can't see. My third friend that I mentioned, her name is Renee. She operates Renee. The website is angelic-comfort.com. And she plays into one of my stories eventually here. But she was down visiting. Everybody was out of the way, and she kept her powers turned off, I guess, for her vacation. But another friend, Tanya, was over. We're sitting in the living room, and I kept looking at the hall, and Tanya says, what are you looking at? And I said, Renee, turn on your powers for a second and tell me something. She goes, okay. I said, besides you, me, Tanya, and my animals, who the heck else is here? She sat quiet for a second, and she said, there's a man in the hall, there's a kid in the corner, and there's somebody else keeps poking his head in the door just to see what's happening. God bless you.
Thank you.
And said, when she said that to me, that made a lot of sense because I had heard the male voice on a couple of occasions in the house, beginning with "Hey," and looking at the hallway constantly. That went along with everything else that was happening activity-wise, and then the little girl that was interesting because I remember one night waking up, and you know how you just kind of look out of one eye as you roll over. Made me open both of my eyes to look because it looked like. Do you remember the little Buster Brown kid with the
little page boys?
Hair? Yeah. It looked a little bit like that. I don't know if it was a boy or girl or not, but whenever I looked with both eyes, I said, "Huh?" out loud, and I was awake seeing this, not asleep. And when I said, "Huh?" kid turned, hair flew up as they turned and ran out of the door of my bedroom. And I jumped out of bed and chased into the dining room of the house looking to see who the heck it was. There was nobody there, no footsteps running or anything. And that's when I just kind of announced in the house at that point, you cannot be in the room that I'm in at any point in this house. You can be in the other room, that's fine, but not when I'm asleep and not when I'm in the bathroom. There's nothing worse than cold sores when you're in the bathroom, right?
Yeah. Sarah Lucas says, "Hey, y'all." Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Sarah.
There is nothing worse than having the sensation that somebody is watching you. And I always, we did live in a previous house that I always felt like there was somebody watching us at all times. But I never had it in the bathroom. I can't imagine. I can't even, it's like, I can't go. There's somebody watching me. I can't, I don't think.
Stage fright.
Definitely stage fright.
Yeah.
So, Kat, do you have any personal experiences?
You know, I've had one, and it wasn't necessarily like, I would say, you know, like an apparition, like a ghost or anything, but this was back about, well, it had to be about 9 years ago. I was in the kitchen and I was at my parents' house, and we had 2 dogs that are there, and I was in the kitchen petting one of them, and I was just sitting there just loving on my dog, and I saw something, and it looked like a little like pink hand kind of come in and pet the dog as I'm petting the dog. And I was like, maybe I'm just seeing something, you know, like lighting, eyes playing tricks on me. But the dog turned over and she acknowledged it. And it was kind of like a thing, but it wasn't like it was a very like, I don't know, it just felt very peaceful. It didn't feel like something, you know, malevolent in the house, you know, trying to creep me out. I wasn't scared or anything like that. The dog didn't bark or anything. She just acknowledged that what I saw or what I was thinking I was seeing was there as well. So it just kind of was like, okay, I got a little bit of an acknowledgement that I'm not crazy in the moment. And it wasn't long after, maybe like a month or so, that I found out I was pregnant. And it almost felt like it, because it looked like a little kid's hand. And it was just kind of like, why would there be a little kid, you know, kind of following me around at my parents' house? Because, you know, I grew up there and things, you know, we don't see things walking across the room or anything like that there. So, and I kind of wonder, you know, where people see ghosts afterlife, if they're, you know, it kind of got me thinking like maybe there's something there before you enter life as well. So I don't know, it just kind of the timing of it was very close, like a lot closer than me to think like maybe it was a before life apparition versus an afterlife type of thing. So
nice,
interesting.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a possibility? A pre-life apparition? Just
I don't know, but like I said, that's my experience that I had.
I think so. Why not?
Why not? There's so many things we don't know that happens, and the universe has so much happening in it that if we try to say here's the answer, we're gonna be wrong.
I mean, so many people believe in reincarnation, in religion and all of that. It could have been something like that. Someone came down and they're like, hey, I like you. I choose you.
And that possible. Yeah.
This is my house now. We had a great dinner recently with Emily and Stephen from the Broom Closet and Historical Haunts. Is actually how we met Kevin, and he was talking. And he's been on our show before. Stephen has been on, actually, so has Emily. But he was talking about how basically the spiritual world vibrates at a different level, and it's up here, and we are constantly trying to, I'm not explaining this anywhere as eloquently as he did, but we're trying to raise our vibrations to kind of get somewhere where we can meet in the middle, and that there is this parallel almost plane of existence that is kind of hovering above us. So I'm with that said, I'm like, I think that there's a possibility that we could have pre and post life apparitions that we interact with.
Yeah,
I think
goes
you're right.
Along with one of the memes that floats around on the internet also, where it says that if you realize that as we die and we go to the bright light, what if that bright light is us actually being reborn into the next life?
Oh, that's weird.
Wow, that's
okay.
nifty. I like that.
Now I'm going to be thinking. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty
Now,
cool.
I've kind of had it explained to me, like how you were saying the vibrational thing, like a fan, where when you see a fan oscillating around and you don't really, it's spinning, you can't see the blades. So basically, I guess it was kind of explained to me at one time where if you were to slow the fan blades down, you can actually make the shape of the blades. And it's similar to that, almost like if you're in the spirit world, you're vibrating so high, similar to the fan blades, how they're just moving so fast, you can't see it. And once it kind of slows, or I guess where y'all both kind of cross at a pause where you can get a glimpse.
Oh, that's
back and forth.
Cool.
That's
a really good way to explain it. I had never thought of that before, like in that context. I like that.
We had a comment in reference to
the pre-life.
Pre-life. I like it. It's very wholesome. It does seem, if you're thinking that possibly that whatever it is in your house is pre-life and has not had the opportunity to become disgruntled, I think that does make it a little less threatening. Because I know a lot of people, when they have an existence or something in their house, it is automatic. You're trying to think, it's like, well, we're hoping it's grandma. Come on, be grandma. Grandma's not going to kill me.
Yeah.
But, I know that everybody has different experiences, and some of them are not necessarily very nice. Lauren, you were telling me over the weekend, I didn't know this. You lived in you grew up in a haunted house?
Yeah, my mom actually just commented a second ago. She was like, Lauren, Wisconsin house, tell the ghost story. I don't know if you saw that pop up at the bottom or not. So there's a picture somewhere. This picture did exist at some point, but all of my sisters and everyone fought over the picture of, so we don't know where it went. But I'm determined to find it one day. I was somewhere between 4 and 6, and it was me in front of the house. I have my arms out like this, and it's me and the entire house that we lived in Wisconsin. And up on the roof, you can obviously see a person. It is the outline of a person, like a glowing kind of outline. And it's almost like they're like, la, 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 la. Oh, crap, they're taking a picture. And they tried to like dissipate as the picture was taken. Now, that house was, yep, there you go. My mom says Lauren lived in a haunted bat-filled house in Wisconsin. Very true, 100%. The house was, to me, as a child, a giant mansion. And it was so big to the point where they had broken it up into different parts. So different families lived in different parts of this house. So if you're looking at the front of the house, me and my family over here on the right-hand side, there was another family who had like the left-hand side of this house. And then I think it was a bunch of doctors rented out the upper floors of the house, and they all stayed together in the upper floors. This place was huge. The cellar was full of bats. I could just like go take a bat and like sit there and pet the bat, and centipedes, lots of centipedes. But we found out after the photo that apparently one of the doctors this is the story at least that I was told. One of the doctors had been up on the roof trying to fix something and had fallen. and died.
Oh.
And that was before we found this out afterwards, and we're like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense now. Yes. Okay. But that place, that as I was talking to you about at the con, I distinctly remember waking up as a child and having a face right here staring at me. And I remember a glowing, it was almost blue for some reason in my memory, face just staring at me as I was sleeping. And I screamed bloody murder. That image is forever just stuck with me. It was, the entire house was just, if you can think of a creepy haunted house, this is like the cookie cutter. There you go. And that's what we lived in when I was a child.
Now, Taylor, you've actually had some really interesting job. Okay, wait, what?
Sorry, y'all were talking about wanting grandma to come in as a ghost, and Toy Robot Visual Arts just commented, well, what if grandma was a beep?
Oh, Toy Robot, did you really go there? So, Taylor, you've had some very interesting positions. You've worked in a lot of very interesting places. And I can imagine that some of the things that you've encountered have not always been benevolent. And have you ever encountered anything that made you feel extremely uncomfortable, that you didn't want to be there?
Yes. One moment in particular, and I can't remember if you were there for this or not, Kevin. It was when I was working for Historical Haunts as a tour guide and an investigator. We were doing the Masonic Temple off of Court Avenue downtown, this early 1900s building, lots of history. It was as if the brothers had just like upped and left. Everything was still like very pristine. We were up on the 6th floor, and it was with the group. It was on a investigative like lights out tour. I know I was partnered with one of our other, he's considered the skeptic of the group. I don't know if I'm allowed to name names, so I'm not. And he had a son who was very interested, and that's how we got started. And, you know, we were doing our thing. I was very comfortable there. I was kind of the lead tour guide on giving the tours for the Masonic Temple. So I was very comfortable with the spirits I had felt there previously. But that night, the skeptic and his son brought some night vision goggles, and up on the very top floor, we were looking through it with our group, kind of just helping them learn how to investigate and find their own evidence. And all of a sudden, they start to see this apparition only through the night vision goggles of what appears to be the shadow of a man who's kind of standing very stiff, arms down to his side, kind of like bulked out. But he appeared very small because he was on the other end of this very long room that was like roughly roller rink size. And me being the investigator that I know our skeptic friend tells us all the time, like this is his story now, so it's fine. I being the investigator that I am, I'm like, let's see if we can't get some more reactions, because they started passing the night vision goggles around to everybody. And so I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go over there, see if he moves, if it changes, what happens. So I go across, and our skeptic friend is looking through the night vision, helping me walk towards him. So essentially, when I get to the other side, I try to stand like he was standing. And mind you, I'm in like these thick boots, safety for my ankles always. I'm dressed very casually, very comfortably. I'm not in like stiletto heels or anything. And I'm standing there, and I'm trying to get in this spot. And right as I like land on the same spot, through the vision goggles, our friend sees what looks to be an arm come through me, as if it's like coming out of my chest. And I'm actually propelled forward to the point where I feel gross. I've never felt this way on an investigation. I'm not afraid of the paranormal. I'm also not here trying to antagonize it or also be like, yes, attack me. That's not my style. I just was trying to get some kind of something. And all of a sudden, like I said, I'm propelled forward where I almost stumble and fall. And instantly I feel sick to my stomach. I'm dizzy. I am hot and cold all at the same time. I have this disgusting sweat to the point where I just instantly say, I'm out right now. I can't. And all I remember is rushing down all 6 flights of these marble stairs down to the first floor. And I'm still feeling this way, no matter how much distance I'm putting myself between it. And one of our other friends who was there, who was helping lead that night, is following me out. And it's not until I cross the threshold of where the sidewalk of the property ends that I start to feel okay. But at that point, my back was burning. And I'm like trying to take my shirt off to look at what's happening on my back. And kind of like a hand, you see these 5 pinpoint marks as if fingertips had pushed me. I went home after that night. That was just like, I can't go back in there. I don't feel good. I don't know how the rest of that night happened or how they dealt with that situation of me just kind of leaving. But she told me to go home, stay safe. And I had those marks. They're almost like welts for a few hours afterwards. And I was like sitting in the shower trying to like scrub them off. And I just felt, ugh. Is the best way to describe it.
Did you ever go back into the building?
Oh yeah, plenty of times.
Okay. I did that tour
Jasper.
with you.
Yes. And so, yes, I would go back in, and I always felt a little bit more uneasy on that floor since that experience, but I wasn't about to let that stop me from trying to get more evidence or try to further the field, if you will, and try to also fix a relationship. For me, the spirits I worked with, especially giving tours, was more of a relationship versus a one-trick pony kind of thing. The more you can interact with them and the more comfortable you feel with them and them with you, the more they're willing to cooperate with you and expend their limited energy to kind of, like you said, come down to our plane because we're trying to meet them halfway. And so I was trying to also repair a potential relationship, but that apparition, that could never get anything like that again from there. Lots of other things, but not like that.
We have another comment.
Let's see here. Tabitha Dipple, sorry if I mispronounced that, Brown says, in my mind's eye, I see a Dementor-like figure. It never wanted to be near me, always going to the far side of the hall from me. I never actually seen it, all just feelings and mental stuff.
We're going to circle back around to that because that actually kind of coincides with something that happened in one of my previous houses. But I do I do have a question for Taylor. You said that you went home and you were trying to scrub off of these welts. And I mean, this actually goes out to Kevin as well, because I think that this will definitely lead into something we want to hear from you. I always say leave paranormal investigation to the professionals, because I've always heard that you can bring things with you. Were you at all concerned that entity that you encountered may have come with you?
That night, no, because before I left, our lead that night did go through some extra precautions to make sure that I wasn't leaving with something attached to me or following me because of the marks on my back. So there are a few different ways that you can kind of alleviate some of that worry. Now, is it 100% foolproof and does it work all the time? No, but there are some things that you can do that kind of eliminates the greater potential of you going home. So that night I did feel safe. It was just more of a, I still felt it kind of thing. And I was just like, I just don't want to feel this feeling anymore. It was, even thinking about it now, I still remember that feeling.
That's how I think, as the females of the group, when there's a guy who won't stop like putting his arm around your shoulder or won't stop squeezing your thigh, or he just won't leave you, and you go home and you're just like, and you want to get in the shower for like 30 minutes just on full hot.
Yes.
That is the feeling that, to me, at least that's what I think you're describing.
But amplify that.
Yes, girl, I know what you mean.
So I have a question. What if you end up with something like this attached to you? What if you are doing an investigation and the next thing you know, you have something that has come home with you? How do you get rid of that? How do you know? I mean, I'm sure there's telltale signs.
Yep.
I'm going to defer to Kevin.
I'm looking at you, Kevin.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the king of attachments. That is you.
Well, I wouldn't say that I'm the king of it, but I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. But do you want the long story, the medium story, or the short version of the story?
You give us what's
20 minutes left.
Okay. So we're doing this investigative tour in a cemetery called Oak Hill Cemetery. It's in, I think it was Birmingham, Alabama. And up the hill from where we're at during one of the tours, I see a little green orb, a little light dancing around headstones, and nobody has a laser grid, laser or anything. I'm watching to see if it's headlights. I'm trying to see what it is. And it's not anything that I can place physically to that. And as I'm considering what the heck is up that hill, one other person walks over and says, "Hey, do you see that too?" And I said, "Yeah, I see that on the hill." And that's one of the other tour guides that was there. I say that I want to run up and check it out, and she says, "No, you should stay here with us." And I said, "Okay, but if somebody else says it," and then all of a sudden 2-3 other people walk up and "You see that light up yonder on that hill?" Yeah. And so I take off running, which is something I don't do. That's why this is here. And I'm jumping over headstones, keeping my eyes open, running to this light, trying to see what it is. And when I get there, it's about 5 to 10 feet ahead of me, and it begins to move across these other plots as I'm chasing it. And it just goes down to nothing, and it's gone. So I'm standing there, and I'm looking around, and then suddenly I realize I just ran up a hill, something I don't do. My heart's in my throat, and my only question at that point was, "If you're here, give me a sign before I die." And nothing happened, of course. So I said, "All right, fine." So I catch my breath. I walk down the hill. I go right past one person who says, "Hey, you got a light following you." Okay, now I'm thinking it's a joke. Somebody else makes a mention of this little light following me down the hill. Later in the night, one of the guides that was with us, they told me they saw a light following me around in the cemetery.
No.
And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, the first two I probably would pass off as just jokes and teasing. But the third one, somebody that's actually on our team that says, "I saw a light following you." Now I'm thinking, interesting. When, where, what point were we at that you saw the light? And come to find out, it was in a third, I think, tour group. It was another tour group that we went through. So it stayed with me through 2 whole tours of this cemetery.
Wow.
And decided to stay with me longer. That was a Saturday night. That Sunday, I woke up and I just felt really just worn out, tired. All the way home, I just began to be a little disassociated from myself and things going on around me. That Monday morning, I woke up. I just remember feeling like I had a flu, but everything still is very foggy from that day. As the day wore on, I remember one of my coworkers coming in, and I don't remember anything. I just remember her going, "That's it." I don't remember the words or anything. That night, we called my friend Renee, and that I mentioned earlier, and she said, "Okay, I'm going to come through." She could ask for project. There's evidence of this happening through a voice box recorder here in Memphis while she's in Ithaca, New York. Whole other show there. Anyways, but she says, "I'm going to come through. I'm going to put you to sleep. And when I do this, I will take care of whatever the attachment is." And apparently I said, okay. I got my roommate to come watch out for everything, to have equipment, which he didn't turn on at all. And, but he said that as I fell asleep, I said, "I'm tired and my right arm hurts." And then I was just out. And then a few seconds later, he said that he saw what appeared to be sparkles over me, which when Renee is in her astral form, people see sparkles. And he didn't know this.
Cool.
Right. And the next morning I get up and I'm getting ready for work, and I just feel like I just felt tired is all. But I looked in the mirror while I'm getting ready, and on my right shoulder, there was this huge bruise. And I looked and I said, "What the heck happened?" You know, and I'm thinking this Tuesday, I feel more like is Monday for me all of a sudden. And so I missed a day, and I go to work. I go to lunch with the bookkeeper, and about 1 o'clock that afternoon, while we're finishing up lunch, she says, "Oh, you're back. Back from where? What are you talking about?" She said, "Well, you just have been so quiet and this whole other demeanor this whole time, and all of a sudden, you're back." Thanks.
Wow.
And that evening I came home, I asked my roommate, what the heck's going on? And he told me what happened the night before. Okay. And I said, "That's interesting though, because I said that my right arm hurts, but now there's this big bruise on my right arm." And I called her, and basically what she told me is that it wasn't anything that was evil. It was just someone that really wanted to experience life again had attached itself to me, and that she extracted it from my right shoulder, from my right side.
Oh,
And I said, interesting, because that's where I have a huge bruise. And so her not knowing this, him not knowing that there's supposed to be sparkles when you see her, all these things culminating into this whole story of this attachment that I got. So to speak to what you said, can you tell? Tell. You can definitely tell. And, everybody's going to feel it differently, of course. The experience Taylor had with the hand pressing against her made her feel dirty, but the marks were there. At one of the museums here in town during a tour, I got scratched. I wasn't scared by it. I don't feel it was anything evil, just that the energy transfers differently. If I'm standing there and somebody grabs my arm, that energy may translate into these scratches. Everybody experiences things a little differently. But yes, they make plenty fun of me now for having chased after the orb. And they always say, "Don't go chasing lights."
See, I just see you like a cat with a laser pointer, like, "Oh, and you're just running up the hill."
No. I am hearing Magda.
Description of it, yeah. I get excited about these experiences and things, and I just go jumping right into the heart of it in some cases, and I've got to hold myself back a little bit.
Did anybody sit there and listen to this story and just hear Magda saying, "Don't go chasing fairy lights"?
Right?
I know.
Magda had an entire rant.
That's like a Scottish thing, I guess, a tale that she has. But now, Kevin, I was kind of listening to that and how you said you were running over tombstones to get to this light. And were there tombstones on the hill that you ran to where it dissipated? Or was it just off into the woods somewhere?
No. There were headstones in that area. There were plots that I ran across when I got to where the light was on top of the hill. I would say that it would have been on the opposite side of where the headstones face. So I'm actually running across graves at that point, trying to, I don't know, I guess catch the light. I don't know what I was doing.
So it didn't dissipate at a grave to kind of take you to some place or somebody, we should say.
That could be. Now I kind of wish I knew which grave it was that we stopped at.
There was something there that you didn't see. Yep.
Right. But, at the time I was just too excited. I don't know.
If you ever venture back, you can always kind of look around where.
I second that. I second that. Go back and check it out and be like, where was I and where did I run to?
I'm just saying, I'm not a ghost investigator or anything, but, that would be one of those puzzles in life. I would be like, maybe there was something there to acknowledge that.
Your sensitive friend who actually helped, and it's interesting that you're talking about this person because I'm familiar with who she is. And if it's the person that I'm thinking, she actually has worked with law enforcement in the past to help with some different situations. Stephen and Emily were telling us about a couple of people that they know and some of their experiences and their. It's not at all like what you see on TV. Those people are not at all the real thing. What he is describing is 100% the real thing. And yes, she can astral project, and it is very it's almost it's almost unnerving, the things that she can. It's like, please don't look in my house. Please don't look in my house. Please don't look in my house. But
But we
I'm
see
just
it right
curious.
there behind you.
Yeah, I know, but that's just a corner with my creepy
Man, I'm
dolls. Yeah, yeah. But have you ever thought about asking her if she knew who it was?
She didn't know who it was. She just knew that it was female and wanted to experience life again. And apparently, while that was going on, she didn't get a full interview out of the person. Whoever it was wanted to hold on very, very much so, because it was hard for her to extract. And it left a big old bruise.
I wonder if there's some kind of unfinished business there. If there was a reason that they wanted to hold on to that life, if there was something they wanted done. I would always be interested in going back to where you were and checking out the graves and just kind of doing like a little talk there and being like, hey, this happened before. Is there something you want someone to be told? Is there something you want done? And just like seeing what everything picks up, because I think that'd be really interesting.
Right. Well, I'm looking at the comment there, Kevin in the afterlife. And I'm remembering that one scene in Ghostbusters.
You've got Lauren over here who's going to hold court when you get there.
Right. No. I think that would be interesting to know who it was and the why and all of that. But, it goes back to another investigation that we did at a haunted attraction, because we had a little test that we were trying to do with that. And not really much activity was happening. I sat asking every single question that I could from any direction that you could imagine for about 40 minutes. And then finally I was giving up and hoping soon we would end that investigation, because I was starving. And the only time that we got activity in that whole moment was when I said, I'm tired and hungry. I think I want to go have a burger and fries. If you're here and would like to have a burger and fries, could you make the K2 meter light up? And finally, after all night, all 5 lights of the K2 meter lit up. And I said, I like mine with cheese. Do you like cheese on your burger? And it lit. I said, I like mustard and ketchup on my burger. Do you like that? And it all lit up. I said, I'm not really crazy about onion. Do you like onion? It lit up. I said, I like French fries. Do you like fries? Lit up. I like a Coca-Cola with mine. Do you like a Coca-Cola with yours? It lit up. It did not light up at all for anything else until we started talking about the food. Now, what was its unfinished business? What did it want to experience when it connected to me? Maybe it just wanted to taste a burger. It's 2 different stories, but maybe we miss the flavor of chocolate when we die. Maybe we just want to feel that hug again that we can't feel anymore. There's a lot of things that we don't know about the paranormal, but maybe these physical things that we're used to in life, maybe we miss it a little bit once we cross over to the other side. Heck, I know myself that once I die, I'm hoping there's some cake somewhere in the spirit world I'm able to eat.
And it better be chocolate for me. That's all I'm saying.
Chocolate cake, yes.
That's right. I want some spiritual chocolate cake.
Okay, no chocolate.
But with these toy robot comments, can we just say, is anybody else imagining the Patrick Swayze ghost scene with Kevin? Like, a little pottery making?
Pottery.
Yeah.
Shaping clay.
Oh, my.
Yes.
My darling.
So I did have a paranormal experience, or I don't even know if I would call it a paranormal experience, because it deals with a child. It deals with my oldest child. So I lived at a house in Memphis. It was a very old house, and it was a very small house. And just to kind of preface it, there's a couple of things that I feel like I need to say. I had a toddler child. She was probably 5 or 6. Her name is Scarlett, those of you who have met her. And my husband at the time was working overnight. So I am at home with my toddler, trying to mommy and, just be there by myself. And I'm not uncomfortable being by myself, but sometimes when you're in the house alone with a child, you become a little more hyper aware of things going on. So we had 2 particular incidents in that house that stand out to me. And the way that this house was built there in the middle of the hallway was like this little cutout cubby hole area that had a bookshelf and a table kind of built into the wall. And that's where we had our computer. And my oldest child for many years did not want to sleep by herself in that house. Now, once we moved, that was a totally different story. I'm just going to say, once we got out of the house, that was a totally different story. But she did not want to sleep by herself the entire time that we were in that house. So a lot of times, just for the sake of sanity, I would let her sleep in my bed. And I normally would not. I have insomnia, so I don't go to bed at normal hours unless I'm highly medicated. So I'm sitting there, I'm working on something, and all of a sudden I see her set up, and I can see the bed, and she is waving, and I think she's waving at me. And I get up and walk to the door, and I'm like, "Hey, honey," and I'm waving at her. I'm like, "Go back to sleep." And I'm like, "Why are you waving at me?" She's like, "I'm not waving at you. I'm waving at the pretty woman in the hallway behind you."
Nope.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. It's like, you don't want to turn around. I think that I went to bed, shut the door, and didn't even turn around at that point. I'm like, I don't want to see if there's a pretty woman in the hallway behind me. It obviously wasn't frightening to her, but she also had some very interesting interactions with things that most people would find frightening. So we believe that our house had a shadow man in it. And those of you who are familiar with the spiritual world know about shadow people. It is basically a smoky silhouette of a man or a woman. A lot of times they're depicted wearing a hat. Sometimes it's a wide brim hat, it's a top hat, it's a fedora, usually dressed formally, if I understand correctly, and will kind of come and lurk in doorways and kind of just stand there. And a lot of times it is if I understand correctly, also it's a bad omen. So I'm up one morning getting ready to go to work. My husband is coming home, and we hear Scarlett, who should be asleep in her bedroom, talking. And I make the comment, I'm like, I've heard her talking off and on, for the last couple of hours. And so I asked Daryl to go in there and check on her, and he goes into the room to check on her, and she proceeds to tell him that there was a creepy man in her room, which, first of all, is the most unnerving thing ever. But she described him as a tall man, dressed all in black, no features on his face, red eyes. I do believe he might have had like red on like lapels or a tie, and he was holding a platter. And he spoke to her, and she said that basically he said, "My name is," and then gave some long, elaborate name, not your traditional childhood gibberish, not like the Great Googly Moo. It was like it's like gave some
proper name,
but not something that we would possibly Latin or something. And then she said that he told her that my friends called me bad scruffy, and then said he was going to eat her. My 6-year-old daughter looks at him and asks, "Are you crazy?" And about that time is when Daryl came in, and she has relayed this story over like several times throughout her life. She's 26 now, I do believe. And the story has never wavered. It has never changed. There's never been any embellishment. There's never been anything taken away. It's always the exact same story. He's standing between the bed and the door. This is what he looks like. He's carrying a platter. I don't understand the platter but my husband had said that he had heard about shadow men and started trying to figure out if this is possibly what he saw or what she saw. And anyway, so that is the only house that I have. And truthfully, I'm a skeptic. I am a bit on the skeptic side, but that is one of those experiences. Although I did not have it myself, the fact that she was so detailed about it and she relayed a conversation, and I wish I could remember the name. She cannot remember his formal name either. And I am terrified to look up Bad Scruffy to see what in the world Bad Scruffy might possibly be. Don't do it, Lauren. I don't want to know.
Damn it.
You can look it up.
I have a
No.
question though. I have a question. When it comes to your oldest, is she sensitive? I'm just wondering because we all went out for an episode of this show to do the absinthe episode, and we were talking with someone about, apparently the building we were in was haunted and all that. I felt someone poke me as we were talking about, the creepy ghosts, and I turned and your daughter was there, and I was just like, because I don't know her that I mean, we've seen each other a million times, but we're not like besties. So I was just like, did you just poke me? And she's like, no, because she was kind of like, she was the only one behind me, but she was the opposite side over here behind me. And I'm just like, it's almost like a spirit came and went, boop, haha, I'm going to blame it on her. And then like, off.
That would be Scarlet's spirit, let me tell you.
I'm just wondering because it seems to kind of, at least from my experience, it seems to kind of generate around her.
I will say there's a good possibility. We don't know for sure, but I do believe that sensitivity runs in our family. I know that you've heard me talk about my mother. My mother is almost prophetic in her feelings about. My mother is an extremely devout Christian, and if she says she's going to pray for you and she asks for a miracle to work for you, it's going to happen. And I am not kidding. It's like we will go if there's a situation in our family and we're like, hey, I need some help. I'm like, I'm gonna call my mom and I'm gonna have her put us on the prayer list and we're gonna have her pray for us. And I mean, it is almost instantaneous. And I know that sounds really, really strange, but if she says I've prayed and I get the feeling that this situation is going to get better, this person is going to get better, they get better. If she prays about it and she basically comes out on the other side and says, I don't think it's going to happen. And she might not have even met this person. She's just, whatever she says happens. It's like she will, whatever, but she does pray about it. And she attributes that 100% to her relationship with God. And that is but I mean, it's uncanny how accurate it is. So Scarlett has been, I do not consider myself sensitive at all. Not at all. I'm the person who's always gone looking and never finds anything. But my oldest child, I do believe she is sensitive, probably has been from a young age. And her oldest child is very much so. Very much so. So I believe it does run in the family, but so I'm seeing this ticker come across the bottom, and that basically tells me we're at an hour. So I know, where did our hour go?
There's many more stories. This is not fair.
There's a ton of stories. A lot to
many
talk about when
more.
it comes to the paranormal.
Okay,
I
know that we've done one episode where we did a 2-hour show. If we maybe because we are so booked out months in advance, would it ever be a thing to where maybe we could do a show like this, like a 2-hour show, and have, testaments and stories and all of that? I'm just wondering.
I would love to do that.
Yes.
Let's toss that around.
I'd be willing to come play with you guys.
Yes.
Oh, good. I actually would love to be able to set up somewhere just publicly where we can all, you have people come in and we'll set up the camera and we can live cast from a different location and have everybody come in and just because this is fun, but face to face you get so much more out of seeing and interacting with somebody sometimes than you do even with this. But
and say, I want to go on a hunt. Can we go ghost hunting with y'all? Can that be an episode?
I mean, I am just saying, I do have a really good connection at a historic mansion that we could also do some potential investigating in, Kevin, as you've already investigated it before.
Yeah. I'm game. I'm ready. Just tell me, here's the day, date, and time. Let's go.
Taylor, if that is open for our group,
Absolutely.
You let me know. We will be there.
I am saying right now it absolutely is. I'm actually already working with Kevin and Steven to get the chance for people to come in and investigate the house, but to do a live show or something of that nature, I'm sure Stephen would be amicable to partner with you guys and do something of that nature.
Yeah.
I'm down.
I'd be there. Yeah.
As the keeper of the keys, I am
down. Wilson Stewart says, adult, are you afraid of the dark?
And count him in.
And yeah, count him
Leroy
in.
says,
everybody.
too cool.
Definitely.
I think we have to make this happen. Well, guys, I really do hate to cut this short, but I do want to first of all say thank you so much to Taylor and to Kevin for joining us. I feel like we just scraped the iceberg. I feel like there's
we really
so
have. There's a
more.
whole lot more to talk about, and anytime you guys want me on, I'll be glad to come on and talk. As you can tell, because I like to talk. But I do want to throw out real quickly just to say that if there are needs for investigation, questions, people that might need help, I would say reach out to the broomclosetmemphis.com. I know that Emily has been involved in detaching an attachment. So, if there's needs, I say reach out and let them know. And, they'll get the team together. We'll come out and we'll do some investigating at properties if it's somebody that needs the help.
Thank you. That is wonderful information.
We will try to put that in. We will try to remember to put that information in the link. If somebody wants to find out more about you and your life, Kevin, where would they find you?
Usually in the cookie aisle, but on the internet, you can find all of my work typically at muleythemule.com, MULEYTHEMULE. It's all one word, muleythemule.com for the fun cartoony puppetry stuff. I've got a .com, that's my name, kevinlwilliams.com. And on there, I try to do things that's not necessarily Muley. He's on there too, but fan fun stuff. I've posted some things about paranormal. I've posted just silly things because I can. So those are the two best ways to find me. And if you find the rest of my team, I'm usually someplace close by chasing lights.
Don't chase the fairy lights.
Yeah,
Don't chase. All right. On behalf of Magda, do not chase the fairy lights. Wisps are bad. Wisps are bad.
We
always say, if you go looking for an experience, guess what? You're gonna get it.
That's right.
Yep. We always say you find what you're looking for.
You do. Sometimes whether you want it or not. Taylor, where can people find you?
The easiest way to find me for this kind of stuff is either through Kevin or Steven down at the Broom Closet. They have all my personal contact info, and they're honestly the go-to people here in town for that kind of thing. If you're just interested in history in general things, come check out me at the Mallory Neely, which is where we are trying to do a lot of this stuff. Just waiting for a few last-minute contracts to come in. And you can find me at moshmemphis.com, Mallory Neely House, for that.
Nice.
All right.
I know. Awkward silence.
I know.
Also,
I'm the queen of awkward silence.
But
so,
also,
what is? Oh,
go ahead. I was just going to say, if you're commenting and things like that, extra like this, extra comment, have them bring us back, because one of my favorite stories I didn't get to tell tonight was how my ghost boyfriend stole my sunglasses. Putting that on your nose for you.
What? Yeah. I want to know that story.
Teasers. Bring us back. Kevin knows this.
Okay.
Should I do a teaser too?
Yeah, do teaser.
Do it.
Okay. The ghost in my house paralyzed my dog. I'm done.
Okay. Oh my god. Okay. All right.
Scratching the iceberg literally here, guys.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. Okay, so thank you both for joining us. I want to say thanks to Johnny and Back of the Cereal Box. I know he's on the road tonight. Otherwise, he would be here joining us. And thank you to the Cabana Boy upstairs, Toy Robot, who is running all of our behind the scenes and keeps everything looking and running smoothly. Now, if you are a fan of the show and you do want to support our show, we recommend that you drop us a tip in our virtual tip jar. Now, our tip jar is part of Cereal Box Podcast, which is Buy Me a Coffee's /Cereal Box Pod. Okay, I think I got that. But you can basically designate your donation to a specific show if you want to, a specific host, or whatever you want to do. And we greatly appreciate you guys in helping us stay on the air. Always, if you want to help our show out and you don't have the expendable means, you can always subscribe, like our shows, like our posts, share with your friends, tell people about us. And we have another episode coming up on the 10th. And I want to drop it, but I can't yet because I haven't got my verification. But I'm just going to say it's going to probably be pretty ooey and gooey. Would you say so, Taylor?
Very much so. If indeed it gets to be what it should be, ooey gooey, and if you ever got to live it, smelly.
Do I know
Ew.
this show topic?
We'll talk later.
Okay.
We'll talk later. It's going to be ooey gooey, and it's probably going to relate to a lot of true crime. So,
Is it sad you say ooey gooey and it makes me want brownies?
This is not going to make you want brownies. This actually might be the one topic that puts you off with brownies.
I think it's going to make you want slime, though.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And with that said, pleasant screams.
Bye.